All right, good to see everybody. Obviously, we are coming off a really soul-crushing loss at Boise State. So kind of working, Saturday night and Sunday, working through the disappointment of that, but then quickly turning our attention to New Mexico. This is a team that's been playing good football. They are extremely creative on defense. I think Coach Gonzalez does a fantastic job that way. Offensively, they have a bunch of weapons that can hurt you. They have 3 good receivers. They have 2 quarterbacks. Both of them are good players. They're different, but we said that was proved to be challenging for us last week against Boise State. The running back is a fantastic player, so this is going to be another big challenge for us on the road. And I think that's one of those things where you go on the road and it's just the team, and we got to play good football, and we got to find ways to score points and stop people in the second half. And that's something that me and my coaching staff have been working hard at. Like I mentioned on Saturday night, it starts with me, and I got to do a good job getting us prepared to go down there and play our best football game of the year, and find a way to get out of there with a win.
Questions for Coach?
Good afternoon, Coach. Just wanted to, I spoke to Shep on Monday about what kind of happened in the second half. You said, it's been the little details. What kind of specific details do you have to focus on for Saturday to kind of get the offense going in the second half?
Well, I think those little details showed up in some situations with some communication, on the line of scrimmage, getting targeted the right way. It was loud, which made that hard, and so that some of those things where I had to burn some timeouts early in the second half because I was watching the play clock, and our offensive line is communicating. I can see them still talking, and we're not ready to snap the ball. Some of that stuff. So we're working on some of those communication things, and then just some small detail stuff, right? If it's 3rd and 4, we need to catch the ball past the sticks, and some things that sound simple, and definitely something that we can address and fix, and that's what we've been working on.
And just out of curiosity, I know 2020 you did it, then 2022 is right on the index card. In December when we were listening to Christmas music. Mm-hmm. Did you do the same thing this year?
I did, but I don't have, my office moved. You know what I mean? So, but that's something I do every year.
Okay, yeah. But it's not like tape. I think it says taped up right above your computer where you work.
What's funny is when we moved out of our offices in June, I think, and we moved back in here in August. We were already in training camp, so. My office is still in boxes. It's just been all football since then.
Jordan Cobbs and Brian Harper had a really good first half on Saturday. How important are they in just the playmaking aspect of the defense?
Jordan Pollard?
No, Jordan Cobbs.
Okay.
Or Pollard, yeah, Pollard. Sorry.
Pollard played a little bit more than Jordan Cobbs did. I think both of those guys done a fantastic job. I think Coach White does a great job coaching our linebackers. He has for a long time. We've had all-conference performers there with Ethan Aguayo and Kyle Harmon, and it's been really cool to see kind of this next evolution of you've seen a little bit from Parham the last couple of years, and also Jordan Pollard a little bit last year. Obviously Jordan Cobbs is in that mix, but he's coming off the injury, so he's still getting back to full speed. But those guys are definitely 2 players. They love to play. It's very, very important to them. They work extremely hard in practice, and they bring Parham brings a real toughness and physicality to the position, and then you see the athleticism of Jordan Pollard on, the things that he's able to get to, or the interception the other night, stuff like that.
And just out of curiosity, how do you kind of practice just getting turnovers? How do you kind of practice that? How do you prepare for that or practice for that?
So we have a turnover circuit that we do every week, a takeaway circuit, and the opposite of that, we have an offensive ball security circuit, and so that's something that's always been a huge point of emphasis for us as a coaching staff.
And then so I asked you after the game, what have you learned from this? And you said, I need to look at film. I need to look at this. It was just too soon.
Yeah.
What have you learned from Boise State to help you guys moving forward?
Well, I think the biggest thing is, I mentioned the communication thing. I think that hurt us a little bit in the second half. It also hurt us in the first half because we got down there like tight red zone. We were in that end zone where it was really, really loud, and we had trouble getting the ball snapped, and so we kind of had like a false start penalty there that pushed us back a little bit and made it harder to score, and we had to settle for a field goal. As you're looking through it, you're kind of analyzing everything. You're analyzing everything from play calls and to personnel, and are we putting our people in the right position? what can we do to give them the best chance to execute at a high level in those really intense and high pressure situations, right? So we've changed up our practice structure a little bit. We're trying to, get us in a space where, when we are fatigued and when it is late in the game, how do we elevate and how do we apply the detail to each snap, one snap at a time? And so that's been a huge focus for us, just worrying about one day at a time, one play at a time, one rep at a time.
And now, as far as, like you said, the one play at a time, one rep at a time, does that help when the energy kind of starts to sway in the other direction, like we saw with Boise State? They start, like the crowd starts livening up. Does that help with things like that?
Yeah, absolutely, right? Like football's such a momentum game, and in those situations, we just need, one person to make a play or a collective side of the ball to all be executing on the same, firing on all cylinders, and so that we can sustain a drive and put points on the board, or we can get a stop and, or force a turnover or something like that. So it's a combination of like the collective effort and everybody firing on all cylinders, and then also somebody making a play, somebody making, breaking a tackle or, getting a sack or, all those things that can be game changing in those situations. You need a combination of everybody doing their job to the best of their ability, full speed, and then somebody making a play when they get an opportunity to.
I don't know, you have road games before the next 5 or this whole month. It's almost road games except for one.
Yeah.
How do you kind of, obviously you can't really simulate the whole experience of being on the road at practice, but how do you kind of prepare your players to go on the road?
Well, I think that's one of the challenging things about even this conference, right? Like more so than other conferences that I've coached in. It's not just the atmosphere that you're going into. Lots of times it's like elevation or time change or, it can be a totally different scheme. Like this week, you have elevation and you have a vastly different scheme that, that you're getting ready to play on defense. And so, just trying to give them the looks and get them comfortable with the scheme, obviously making them aware that there's going to be a little bit of elevation and they'll feel a little bit of that. We've had to do it at Wyoming in the past or Air Force or wherever, Colorado State. And so just being aware of that and knowing that that's part of it. But there's no way to simulate elevation at sea level, right? There's no way to simulate 50,000 fans at Boise State for homecoming. You know what I mean? There's no way to simulate that, right? Like we pumped crowd noise in the stadium last week, but it's still not the same. The energy's not the same.
And you kind of talked about just telling your players like not to deal with the outside noise. It feels like the last couple of games it's kind of picked up that outside noise.
Mm-hmm.
Do you guys use that at all as motivation, or how do you attack that? Just seeing that outside noise.
Like honestly, I don't think any part of the outside noise is good for our young people. You know what I mean? And I know lots of players in college football just take social media off their phone during the season because it gives people direct access to them. Which is something that my generation never had to deal with. And so. I think that's one of the things that has made it harder than ever to be a college football player because anyone could get directly to you via direct message, right? So I think that's definitely challenging. But I also know that, even people that have the best of intentions sometimes can be distracting or unintentionally hurtful with what they say, and so I think that's one of those things that everybody that's in major college sports or high-level athletics has to deal with. And, we talk about it a lot, and I definitely think it's something for young people now that definitely impacts their mental health. Because, back when I played, if you dropped a pass on third down, like it might be in the paper, but you weren't going to have thousands of people on Twitter tell you that you suck, Now that's what you get, and it goes directly to the kid. And, I think that's one of the really, really hard things about it, for as they navigate that space and they navigate the tough space that we're in, right? The truth is our record is what it is, and looking backwards does nothing for us, right? Letting outside people who we don't know, don't respect, don't care about impact how we feel about ourselves does nothing for us, right? So trust the people you love, trust your teammates, get with each other, and let's get together and let's find a way to move forward.
And just another curiosity question. Are you reading any books at the moment?
Let's see. I'm in the middle of I've taken a little bit of a hiatus, but I normally do read a lot during the season, just when we travel. Oh my gosh, what is it called? I can't believe it. It's like on my wall in my office. I'm sorry, I can't remember.
Yeah, I mean, I just hit you with that.
Yeah.
But then, so what is?
Oh my gosh, it's
Yeah.
gonna drive me crazy.
Okay, maybe next press conference.
Okay,
we'll
yeah,
remember that part of the
yeah. You
opening
can walk down the hall. I'll give it to you.
Yeah, but so with that, the reason why I ask this, I'm always curious about there is outside noise and how do you distract yourself from that? Because you also use Twitter for recruiting,
Right.
so it is kind of on your front doorstep.
Right. Yeah. I mean, it's two different things. You know, I think it's different because I'm old or older. You know what I mean? And so, you know, I think things are never as bad as you think they are, and they're never as good as you think they are. You know what I mean? And as long as we're not looking backwards or too far forward, right? Like if we can just worry about right now and get our team and get ourselves in a place where we can be at our best every day, bringing our best to our players, our best to each other, right? That gives us a chance to move forward in the best possible way. And that's to me, you know, the blocking out the outside noise or just eliminating that. I think that gives you a chance to move forward and hopefully, you know, in the direction of positive outcomes. And if we're sitting around feeling sorry for ourselves or letting the outside world beat us up or letting the outside world make us feel any kind of way, are we really going to be at our best when we come to the facility every day for work or practice or training or meetings or whatever, right? Like at the end of the day, as a coaching staff, we have a responsibility to the young men in the room, right? And that responsibility is for us to bring our absolute best to this environment every single day.
And just going, you know, hitting the halfway point of the season, you know, with you guys' record, do you look at trying to get bowl eligibility? Is that something like you're looking at, or is that, you know?
That's always the goal for us, right? That is always the goal for us. And, you know, but really we're just trying to find a way to play good football against New Mexico, right? Because none of that stuff matters big picture wise if we don't play well this weekend. And so that's where our head's at, focusing on 100% on what we can control right now that's right in front of us. And that's where, but like going to the postseason is the goal of every program, you know what I mean? And we haven't done that enough here over the last 30 years, 40 years, right? And so that's always the goal for us, is to get to the postseason, because you need it for the development of your team. You need the extra practice days, right? Like essentially going to a bowl game is like having an extra spring practice. Like, why do you have spring practice? To get better for the next year. Well, if you go to a bowl game, you get two of them, you know, and that's why you see teams that are able to consistently sustain.